fun, I know. Corona is trending fast, I know. Some are scary, some are funny, others too fake news. Then don't share. Why not? Go to the right place for Corona news. Spreading lies can hurt. Share the facts, not those memes. You might save a life. Save a life? Yes, save a life. You can play your part. Children like us can also play their part by sharing only the facts? Yes, spread only the facts. Play your part too.
Be the one to spread only the facts from the Ghana Health Service. Play your part. In case of any emergency on COVID-19, call 112 or 311. This is brought to you by the Ministry of Health, Ghana Health Service, and UKAID.
My name is Eunice Cromwell, and I'm the business manager of the Ghana National Council. Make sure you always watch Trend Africa TV.
Welcome to Africa.
Welcome once again to another interesting episode of the Health Talks on Trends Africa TV. We've been missing for a while, but we are so excited to be back. I'm going to give you a couple seconds to share the feed with your family and friends. We have a power-packed show today. Today we'll be discussing autism and diabetes. Stay tuned and share the feed. We'll be right back.
Internet is so much fun, I know. Corona is trending fast, I know. Some are scary, some are funny, others too fake news. Then don't share. Why not? Go to the right place for Corona news. Spreading lies can hurt. Share the facts, not those memes. You might save a life. Save a life? Yes, save a life. You can play your part. Children like us can also play their part by sharing only the facts? Yes, spread only the facts. Play your part too.
Be the one to spread only the facts from the Ghana Health Service. Play your part. In case of any emergency on COVID-19, call 112 or 311. This is brought to you by the Ministry of Health, Ghana Health Service, and UKAID.
My name is Eunice Cromwell, and I'm the business manager of the Ghana National Council. Make sure you always watch Trend Africa TV.
Welcome to Africa.
Thank you once again for joining us this beautiful Thursday evening for the Health Talks program. Today we'll be discussing autism. We know that autism, which is also called autism spectrum disorder, refers to kind of a broad range of conditions categorized by challenges with social skills, repetitive behaviors, speech, and nonverbal communication. Today, we're going to be speaking to Mrs. Florence Somuah, and she's going to be educating us as a parent and an advocate of autism. She owns an organization called Enoch's World, and she's going to be sharing with us what it means to have a child with autism and what the Ghanaian community can learn from it. Mrs. Somuah, how are you doing today? Thank you for joining us. Very good. Thank you for joining. So we just want to go ahead and get started and ask you in general, what is autism?
Autism is neurological disorder. Basically, it's like a brain disorder. That means the brain is widely differently. So a child there's like a difference between regular child and autistic child. So they think different. So basically it's neurological disorder.
Okay. If audience, if you could just give us 1 second, we're just having a little bit of feedback. Kindly just go ahead and share the feed and we'll be right back. Give us 2 minutes. Thank you.
Are you looking for photography service for your upcoming event? Is it a wedding, an engagement, or a special event? Look no further. Jojo Texan Images is here. Hire him today for great quality pictures, a quality service provided on the day, and a great personality. Jojo Texan Images is on social media. Follow him Instagram and Facebook at Jojo Texan Images or call him 312-450-5235 and book your appointments today. Jojo Texan Images. Simply Simply excellent. Book him now.
Are you sick or have a health emergency and don't want to wait in long queues at a hospital, especially during these times of COVID-19? Worry no more. Dr. Now GH will bring the hospital to you. Now at your fingertips, you can see a doctor of your choice. Simply download the Dr. Now GH app from your phone's app store. Don't wait. Hurry now to sign up for free. Dr. Now GH, your doctor is now at your fingertips.
Hi, my name is Ochiame Kwame, the rap doctor, and I have something to tell you. When you need a doctor, you mustn't go anywhere. All you have to do is to call Mobile Doctor. They will send a doctor to your home, send a flap to come and take your blood sample.
I will authorize the pharmacist to bring the medication to your home. Don't go anywhere. Mobile doctors will bring everything to you wherever you are.
If you are looking for a discount, just call and give them this code OKMD and they'll give you an amazing discount. Mobile Doctors is my choice and I recommend it for you. For more information, log on to www.mobiledoctors.net. Mobile Doctors, the doctors in your home.
My name is Eunice Cromwell and I'm the business manager of the Ghana National Council. Make sure you always watch Trend Africa TV.
Welcome to Africa.
It's Hot Ice exclusive on the beat.
Good afternoon, Yamime. Achomi nila telai, aka Sterling. Yefane, meantime abtanye adafifi oko. COVID ne bane, elako ni eba egbemewa. Ewo face mask na ke wo sani wo. Shi wana ake owo face mask ke chefio egbla otwe, ehan otwe se shambo. Ewo ehan ni mepi anya wo keche na mejio. Shi woke no kombajara na emi. Ni waba ho anye ne ba anye han owo face mask ke de lebi ka shi gbeke ne che yo to ewo ni ene hu aka wo to ese aka mo kon se oku ese ne ba kan ne ke face mask ba blale ne ba mo mi abo bo ba nyo wo le lebi ka shi gbeke no jie ni onye una ila na eko ewo ene ni wo ke mbajara na emi na ele wo ba ho anye ko ta wholesale price alo ba fan no ya ho wo ye habo ko ta no ba ji oba hele 11 wo ye habo wo number ni obanyo na wo ye no ne 0244 255 193 ko twawo efe no yo obanyo wo ke ba no ba ho habo no wo fe wo ya jowo because ila gbonyo ni neba eba gbe wo wo san wo fe wo fo wo ya fa ba wo nye you are don ketuebo.
My name is Eunice Cromwell and I'm the business manager of the Ghana National Council. Make sure you always watch Trend Africa TV.
Welcome to Africa.
Thank you once again for joining us for Health Talks. We were speaking to Auntie Florence and she was explaining to us what autism is. I want our viewers to know that 1 out of 54 children in the United States are affected by autism. So we're going to go ahead and kind of dig deep from her being a parent and also someone who is an advocate for autism. So Auntie Florence, you already explained to us what is autism. Can you tell us exactly how old your child was when he was diagnosed?
Well, he was diagnosed at the age of 3 years old. I was trying to take him to a preschool, and they find some kind of behavior on him. So they called me back, and then they did the screening on him again, and they said they had to, we had to go somewhere else so they can do another screening, and we went. So when he was 3 years old, that's when I found out that he has autism, but I didn't really pay attention to it. So he was diagnosed at age 3 years old. Yeah.
Age 3. And so can you explain to our audience what type of behaviors you saw? Because I know that everyone with autism presents with a different way, right? When you see children, some children may just be socially distant. Some of them may be social hyper, some of them may be hyperverbal, other things. So exactly what did you experience and what made the school even screen him at 3 years old?
My case is kind of different because I have 3 boys and they all the same age, which is triplets. So with me taking them to preschool, and then they had to call me back and said, oh, there's a problem. So we had to let you go for psychologists and screening and all those things. But when they were children, it was the one who started talking. Even though if you come to my house, he will tell you, go, go. But the speech stopped at the age around 2.5 years. The speech had stopped. And I noticed some of the behaviors, like he likes to be by himself. The two other will be playing, and then he will be by himself playing together, and he'll be screaming, like shouting without no purpose, nothing wrong with him. And when he's walking, especially, that's the most important thing we have to watch at those age. He watch with tippy toe. He doesn't put his feet down. He's always on his tippy toe, and then he'll be walking like that. And most of the time, he has his hands on his ears because of everything that is going on in the house outside. So he's always have his hand in his ears. He does not like light. Like right now, you see this light on me. Now he's used to it, but at that time he didn't like those lights on him and everything. So every time my house has to be like a little bit dim. We shouldn't have that bright light and noise and everything. So the behavior was like some of them was like there wasn't no communication. He's not responding to his name. He's not talking no verbal. Then he started repeating stuff. When you say something, then you repeat. So those are some of the behaviors I saw on him among those two. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then he was like 2.5, 3 years old, and you noticed this behavior. You took him to preschool, and then they did some screening. And normally, when this type of screening happens, they talk about people being like on the autism spectrum, right? Can you explain to our audience what it means for someone to be on the spectrum, and then what an actual diagnosis of autism is?
Well, when they put a child as on the spectrum, they will tell you like maybe Enoch has autism. I always like to see the child first before the diagnosis to be second. So because it's the person, he has autism. And at that time, which is 205, I didn't really pay attention to it because I'm like, oh, okay. I just said okay. But as he was growing, I noticed stuff are getting very tough. So when they put the child on the spectrum, that means, there's something wrong. So that's when you notice like there's speech delay. And there's all this repeatedly stuff. You have to like, maybe that's the screening and then take him to school, and they have like speech therapy, psychologists, occupational therapy, and all those things. So those are some of the things. Yeah.
Okay, so it's a collaborative effort from the very beginning with speech and occupational to be able to get the child, to be able to function, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So then with all this going on, then you developed something called Enoch's World. Tell me how you developed Enoch's World and what does it stand for? What does it mean?
Enoch's World his name is Enoch. And I believe, when you come to my house, everybody, my family, everybody say Enoch live in his own world. So that means Enoch's world, because it's that his journey that is, is going through, and he became somebody differently from the other two. So that means that is his journey that we are facing and we're going through. So Enoch's word is just Enoch and the journey and the world that he lives in. Because if to be, in fact, he doesn't live in our world sometimes. Sometimes he's totally lost. So that is his world. That's why I said Enoch's world, because that is Enoch and the way he sees stuff and the way we see stuff, because he lives in his own world. That means he does things differently. He doesn't like change. He doesn't like for you to make up his stuff. Like, he has a routine that he wants to follow. If you mess up his routine, that means you are mess up his own life. So Enoch's word is just Enoch and the word and his journey that is going. So that's basically, that's it. Mm-hmm.
And I love that. And I always tell you, Auntie Florence, I have so much of respect for you, because you are one of few parents who have really embraced the diagnosis and have adapted to make sure that people really understand. And that's very, very important. I feel like sometimes kids who are autistic, they have special needs, and they are also very brilliant. I've worked with a lot of children who are super, super smart, but then they have these other attitudes and other things. And so the more we are able to express it and be able to teach people, it is very, very important. So how difficult was it to just really adjust within the Ghanaian community? Because I know, being African, probably something like, you see here, the people who are Americans, they can probably adapt much better to autistic behavior versus being from Ghana. So how difficult was that, and how have you been managing it?
I've been a fighter. And I have fight. I have been called names. I have been called, I can't name it. But it became a point. I said, I am not going to fight no more. When he started middle school, I'm not going to fight no more. That's when all this started, I said, let me get up and do something. We need to understand how these kids are, because I'll use church, for example. When he started churches, it'd be like turning off lights. And our country people, they will started talking. Hey, whose child is this? Why is he doing that? And then everybody will start talking about you, saying you need to control your child, which they don't understand what is going on. Or me even coming to church, I'm already tired even to get him to church. And sometimes, a lot of parents with, somebody like Enoch don't want to go to church, because we feel like if the church is the house of God, that's where you're supposed to receive me. And if I'm bringing my child there, and then you guys will label my child and make me feel bad, then what's the use of me coming to church? So I always use church as an example that that's the house of God. That's where we're supposed to even be received more, but they don't understand. Because the ushers, and when they see those children, instead of them like receive them nice and then good way, they want to push them away. So it became a time I didn't went to church for more than 7 years. I was going to church. And I figured, what, I am going to go to church. If you switch the light off, if he's running back and forth, you can say whatever you want to say, because that's him. You either take it or just kick us out of the church. But finally, my church was able to understand him, and they just let him be. And gradually, he stopped. And I see other kids too that comes in and doing the same thing. So the community, especially we Africans, sometimes when we see children, it's not every child that is misbehaving. It's not every child that is bad. Okay, there's something wrong. So we should just take our time. The Bible says the tongue that is in our mouth is very, wicked, and it's very bad. So you don't say bad words among our children. But in my community, they will say it, but why they don't know anything. So that's why I had to say, I'm not going to fight no more. I am going to stand on my feet and talk about my child. The reason, what's going on my child. It's not like disabled, it's not this thing, but this is what is going on. So you have to accept him.
That's wonderful. And I'm so happy that your church was able to understand. So, did you have a meeting with the church, or did you like gather the members and explain it to them? How was it for the church to be able to really understand what was going on?
I didn't have no meeting with the church. I mean, basically the truth, I see case with that in the church, but
Of
how
course.
are you going to tell a parent that, this is what's going on with your child? Because
Mhm.
the way Enoch started, I saw a lot of children with the same behavior. But for you as an African, go and tell, a parent, oh, you know what, this is how my son was doing. So I think your child is like this. I'm sure
Mhm.
the parent already know, but they won't tell you.
Oh,
So
okay.
I didn't say anything about it. About the children, I'm a Sunday school teacher. I always
Oh.
explain. They be like, why is it walking around? Why is he not sitting down? So I prefer, as I was explaining more to the kids than the
Mhm.
adults, because I'm always at Sunday school, so I prefer to tell the children, and they understand it. And I believe on too, they were telling them what was going on, so they
Mhm.
get it. So they be like helping him and back and forth. But with the adults, I just let it be. Sometimes I'll be standing there, and I even heard, yes. And if the person is watching me, I don't care. I even heard one of the ladies. Some when you like I said, I've been a fighter.
Mm.
When you have a child who is in the spectrum, it's
Mhm.
like you have to go to a war so you can fight and defeat that enemy.
Amen.
That's the way the thing is. So
Mhm.
I've been in that fight. I heard somebody say, "Hey, is this child?" And I don't know how to say it, in Somuah. That means is this child from the water or from the lake or no-made? Yeah, is this child
Mhm.
a no-made child or something like that? What kind of language was that? So
Mhm.
I bursted out and I started, and I started, telling them
Mhm.
a peace of mind. But
Right.
it became a time I've said, they can say anything that they want to say, but I am not going to hide my child because it's not vegetable.
Mhm.
When your child is autistic, it's not like disability, it's
Right.
inability. Is
Mhm.
there something later that we need to train them? Before I have to hold his hand, and he has to hold my hand and point everything. But gradually, I'm like, no, let me teach him. All last year, I've been teaching him how to do things. Because if you're standing there and he's coming, instead of him say, excuse you, he won't say it. He will just
Mhm.
pass through. And if you don't watch out, like his hand will touch you. And you're going to think he touched your behind or something bad. But no,
Mhm.
it's just passing. So all these things, we have to teach them. You have to teach him how to cross the street because when he's going, he's just going. So there's
Mhm.
a lot that I taught him for him to be, where I am right now. It's a man. Just imagine. I don't have a man in this house yet, but I had to show him his private part, what is going on. It is not
Mhm.
easy.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not easy at all. You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we are so grateful that you're able to share this story. And viewers, Enoch actually had a birthday just yesterday. He turned 19. So we say a big happy birthday to him. And of course, congratulations to you for really being able to raise him so well. We are very proud of him. He's a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant kid. Auntie Florence says that he can fix anyone's computer. So we should really, respect and learn how to understand our children that have inabilities. As she said, they don't have disabilities. So we're very happy about that. Auntie, please tell us, our viewers, how we can be able to help Enoch World. Is there a donation that we can do? Should we help with awareness, or what would you like the community to know and do for your organization?
Where this like non-profit organization. What I'm
Mhm.
doing right now is like spread awareness, like right now you're doing. Thank you so much. I wanted to go far to spread the awareness for people to understand what is going on among our children. So they don't like label them. You don't. Labels goes to soup or bosses. Labels don't go to human beings. So
Yeah.
we should where we are not asking for no donation and anything because my sister, it's so hard that the people that I know that they have children like Enoch, if they were, like we were coming together as one team, I believe
Mhm.
the voice will be heard. But
Okay.
everybody is trying to be deniable because
Mm.
nobody doesn't want somebody to know that my child is this. And it hurts me when I see that. I really feel bad. I'm like, wow. I've been called, a lot of people be calling me say, why do you always want to talk about your child? I'm not talking about my child. I'm saying it so if somebody is out there that they're facing the same trouble, so that they know that it's okay.
Right.
Okay, it's going to be okay. But it's not that I'm talking about my child and my child is, my child is. No. If we all come together as one people, we can do this and then help our children. That's all I need. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to dig deep into diabetes. We have a brilliant, top-notch endocrinologist that's going to be joining us. We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready for African Most Beautiful USA? Hey, yo, beautiful, wherever you are, do you qualify to be Africa's most beautiful? Are you between the ages of 18 and 25? Are you black or fair in beauty? Are you proud to be an African and living in the States? Above Area Foundation present The Lounge of African Most Beautiful USA. Interested, beautiful African ladies in the USA, put yourselves together, for we are about to witness the Lounge of African Most Beautiful USA. Date, Saturday, April 24, 2021. Venue, Trump National Golf Course, 500W Branch Avenue, Pine Hill, NJ, 08021. Time, 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Oh, African beautiful ladies, for more inquiries and registration, visit www.africanmostbeautifulusa. Oh my God, you cannot afford to miss this. Strictly by invitation.
My name is Eunice Cromwell, and I'm the business manager of the Ghana National Council. Make sure you always watch Trend Africa TV.
Welcome to Africa.
Hey, this your girl coming all the way from the US of A, yeah baby, aka Ya Bantam. And me di feel a bozzing pan and to see one roach with your money how Ghana mat other romantic. What's me sending provisions as I sutra credit Emma Ebusia Fona and the form one Ghana. And one is a ubako www.ghanamat.com. And them would say boy a sharp connection www.ghanamat.com. Let's try more provisions in the credit. Na really ankasa. I have friend numbers na mo screen na seno. Ghana Mat ye krano.
My name is Eunice Cromwell, and I'm the business manager of the Ghana National Council. Make sure you always watch Trend Africa TV.
Welcome to Africa.
Thank you, Auntie Florence. I pushed mute and forgot. Welcome back to Trend Africa TV Health Talks. We know that diabetes is a condition in which the body does not properly process food into energy. So today we are joined by a top-rated board-certified endocrinologist, Dr. Theresa Fynn. She treats a number of complex metabolic and hormonal disorders and cares for patients at the Premier Endocrinology Center in St. Cloud, Florida. After Dr. Fynn completed her undergraduate studies at the University of Ghana, she finished medical school at the University of Ghana of Medicine and Dentistry. She went through a residency in internal medicine and a fellowship in endocrinology, both at Howard University in Washington, D.C. Dr. Fynn completed additional training and is currently board certified in internal medicine, as well as endocrinology, diabetes, and metabolism through the American Board of Internal Medicine. She's an active member of the American Thyroid Association and American Association of Clinical Endocrinologists. Patients often turn to Dr. Fynn to help them with complex medical issues, especially when they haven't previously found successful treatments. She welcomes patients who struggle with obesity, lipid disorders, osteoporosis, among other chronic conditions. Dr. Fynn, we are privileged to have you join us this evening. Good evening. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. So we're going to dig in. Today we're going to be talking about diabetes, and then we'll talk a little bit about diabetes with COVID-19. So first and foremost, go ahead and tell us a little bit about your profession for those of us who don't know what an endocrinologist is or does.
Okay, so thank you very much. This is my first time on the program. I'm very excited to be here to contribute to educating the African community in the US. Diabetes, when it comes to endocrinology is typically the study of the hormones. And we delve into all the hormones in the body. So we're talking about pituitary disorders, adrenal disorders, thyroid disorders. Diabetes is like 80% of every endocrinologist's practice. We also do bone metabolism. So we're talking about osteoporosis, and then parathyroid, which has to do with calcium metabolism. And then we also talk a little, diabetes deals with testosterone, which is the male health. And then we also do the female health as well. So it's a spectrum, pretty much the entire body and how the hormones factor into the management of the different organs. And we have millions of hormones in the body.
Okay, wonderful. And what made you decide to study this particular type of medicine, the endocrinology?
I've always been asked that question, and I've always wondered. I think when I was in second year in medical school, I took a special interest in the study of the hormones. I don't particularly have a strong family history of diabetes or any of the endocrine-related disorders. Like some of my colleagues have strong family histories of diabetes, and so they get into the field. But for me, it was just an interest in the field. It makes sense. It's like once you understand how the hormones work, it makes sense how the human body works. And so it was the only part of medicine that really interested me, to be very honest.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. So in terms of diabetes, let's go ahead and get started. So what should a normal blood sugar be like? What are we looking at for a normal blood sugar? For someone who doesn't know anything about diabetes, and let's say they were to check their blood sugar, what are we looking at in terms of numbers?
So diabetes is pretty much a state of insulin resistance. For the normal person, you want to wake up with your fasting blood sugar, and this is 8 hours of fasting, less than 100. For the after a meal, usually they don't go beyond 140. For the diabetic, however, they're usually above 100. So if you do a complete metabolic panel as part of your yearly physical, and you see a fasting glucose there, that reads 112, 110, anything between 100 and 125, you have to start thinking, do I have diabetes? It's very common for the primary cares not to pay attention to it, because they only do when they see 140, above 126, which is when we make the diagnosis of diabetes. But for the general population, I always say you should look at your yearly physical, you should look at your blood work. And if it's between 100 and 125, you should pay attention and talk to your doctor that maybe I need to be screened for diabetes. And obviously you have to start putting in lifestyle changes, because really it's a disease of lifestyle modification. So you're going to start eating early, you avoid being overweight. Definitely if you're obese, you want to bring your weight down, and really watch the portions, because the main thing about diabetes is carbohydrates. It's a problem with carbohydrate metabolism, which is the breakdown of carbohydrates in the body. So that's
you said that the sugar being above 125. So you're talking about like a CMP, right? And you get the glucose, or so if the person is not fasting, because we go through a lot of lab results, right? And sometimes you'll have a patient who maybe just ate and they would have done like a CMP and like maybe like a lipid panel and all that stuff without the fasting. So would the recommendation from you be to then do a fasting, a hemoglobin A1C, or is it something that you would still say that, no, I want to watch this person, they're perhaps pre-diabetic?
Okay, so about, according to the guidelines, above the age of 40, you definitely need screening for diabetes, especially when you have the risk factors, family history, body mass index, which we call BMI. If you know your BMI is above the overweight range, which is about 25.4, I believe, you should get screened above the age of 40 for diabetes. Whenever you are going to do your yearly physical, it's important that it's fasting because you have to check for cholesterol. So it's important because that may be the only lab work you do in a year. But let's say you do a random blood sugar, you're so overwhelmed with work and you couldn't get to the lab on time. If it's above 200, then definitely that's diabetes. You have to pay attention to the symptoms of diabetes: excessive urination, excessive thirst, blurry vision, sometimes weight loss, and then excessive hunger. These are the typical symptoms of diabetes, but unfortunately, it's an asymptomatic disease. Most people with diabetes have no symptoms. So unless you screen them, you would never know. And most of the time, they go years before they get diagnosed, and then they come with end organ damage, which is like retinopathy, which is like blurry vision, damage to the eyes, or sometimes they have a major cardiovascular event like a stroke or a heart attack. So it's very important that we are screening all adults above the age of 40 for diabetes, which is the hemoglobin A1C. That's the screening test that we do. But if you're not able to do that, because some of these tests in our communities, patients do not have insurance.
Right.
And all they can afford is like a CMP, which is the Comprehensive Metabolic Panel, which is fine. But if you do a fasting comprehensive metabolic panel and your glucose is between 100 and 125, then definitely you need to start putting in lifestyle changes, and you have to take it serious because within the next 5 years, you have a high chance of progressing to diabetes.
Okay. Wonderful. And I like the way you said lifestyle changes. So for everyone who's watching, let's say that you go to the doctor's office, you have a high fasting glucose with the CMP, maybe you have a hemoglobin A1C that's also elevated. Would you initially start the patient right away with medications, or are you starting off with the lifestyle changes first?
I always say that the reason why we have all the problems of the United States is because of Big Pharma. And we as clinicians have to shy away from being contributors to the Big Pharma institution. They rule the United States. Once they don't want you to talk to patients about lifestyle modification. It's a disease of lifestyle modification. Yes, the first drug of choice is metformin, but that is after you've put in these lifestyle measures. Because if the patient takes metformin, but they continue to eat late at night, they continue to eat foods high in carbohydrates, then they're going to move from metformin to the second drug, then now the third drug, then insulin. Then what are you doing as a clinician? Really, you are just helping Big Pharma get rich and richer when you have to put the brakes on and talk to the patient. Because most patients who are very serious about lifestyle modification, they do get to go. They do get to go. But that said, it's a progressive disease. So yes, at the time of diagnosis, you may get away with lifestyle modification, but the disease progresses. And I'm talking about type 2 diabetes. I don't think I mentioned the different types. We have different types of diabetes. We have type 1 and then we have type 2. Type 1, they are insulin dependent. Most of the time it's common in children, but it does happen in adults. 10% of adults do progress to develop type 1 diabetes. They are totally insulin dependent. They need insulin from day one. Then we have type 2, which is what most people are familiar with. They make insulin. They just don't make enough. So they are insulin resistant. They are resistant because of things like obesity. They are resistant because maybe they have asthma and somebody has put them on steroids, and every 3 weeks they get prednisone. So they're becoming more and more resistant to insulin. Those people, they can have lifestyle measures, but it's going to progress. And if they live long enough, they may end up on insulin. And it's okay because that's a natural progression of the disease. But you just want to prolong the time from onset to when you transition to insulin by putting in these enough. And I say if you live long enough. And it's very surprising. Today a patient asked me, so if I put in all these lifestyle measures and I'm going to progress, then what's the point? And I said, nobody knows. There's a genetic component to it. Why is it that it takes 10 years for somebody to progress from diagnosis to insulin dependency. And then it may take somebody else 40 years before they become insulin dependent. So there is a genetic component to it. But what can you modify? You can modify the environmental factors. You can change your weight. You can change your diet. Those you can change. You can never change your genetics. So that you don't have control over. So what you have control over is the environmental factors. Okay.
And we talked about carbohydrates. So for our Ghanaian population that's watching this, let's just really put it out there. What are the highest foods and carbs that are affecting our Ghanaian community, that maybe they eat often and they should know about?
So when it comes to diet, and I always say that diabetes always goes hand in hand with obesity. The two are the best of friends. When it comes to diet, the body looks at food as glucose, which we'll call sugar, protein, and fat. That is the only interpretation by the human body. So beer is going to become glucose. Fries is going to become glucose. Broccoli is going to become glucose. Carrot is going to become glucose. So what is the content of your carbohydrate? Everybody tells me we eat salad all day. The elephant is vegetarian, but it's the biggest animal that lives. So being a vegetarian does not mean you are not predisposed to uncontrolled diabetes or obesity. So it's important that we all take the next 2 weeks, get a book, call it the food diary, write down what you eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Go on Google. Google how many carbohydrates are in a cup of rice, how many carbohydrates are in a cup of pasta or yam or potatoes, bread, kinky. Nobody can tell you what to eat. There's no book that will tell you, okay, for Ghanaians, eat cocoa for breakfast, eat this for lunch. There's nothing like that. You have to make the effort. You have to put the effort into it in order to achieve what you want to get, what you want. And that is really what we talk about when we say lifestyle modification. And in this 21st century, there are so many apps out there. Just don't pay anybody to tell you how to eat. Don't pay Omni Diet, South Beach Diet, Weight Watchers. Don't pay them. They'll tell you 10% body weight in 1 year. They'll collect all your money. The next year, they'll advertise again. You gain all the weight back. You come and pay them again. Don't pay anybody to tell you how to eat. Don't get food from a sachet that is processed, made in a factory somewhere in Alabama, and you're sitting in Maryland eating lunch from Alabama. So learn how to count your carbs so that you don't have to pay anyway. It's so easy to do it, and yet so difficult because human habits are difficult. And I always say that it's okay to fall off the wagon. It's okay to eat the chocolate because you felt like eating it. But just don't do it every day. It's okay to get the ice cream and eat it. Just don't do it every day. Okay. So for Ghanaians out there who want to know about carbohydrate counting, carbohydrate is really glucose, and not all carbohydrate is sweet. Some carbohydrates are not sweet. Kenke is not sweet, but it becomes sugar in the body. Yam is not sweet, but it becomes sugar in the body. So you have to know how much yam you should eat, how much kenke you should eat, and that's what we call carb counting.
The carb counting. And you mentioned earlier about the end stage organ failures. So we're talking about eyes. You mentioned about retinopathy. We know that tingling in the fingers and toes, you get, neuropathy. So can you tell our viewers in terms of when you're diabetic, what type of screenings that you need, like collaborative care? Auntie Florence spoke earlier when she spoke about autism, how, it's all about collaborative care. So I'm sure with diabetes too, it has to be a collaborative effort. So what specialists are we working with to make sure that our patients are feeling very, very good?
So the average diabetic is going to be with a primary care physician. Unfortunately, there aren't too many endocrinologists. When you're on insulin or you're on 3 medications, I think you should look for an endocrinologist. So endocrinologists may be part of your care or may not be part of your care. Once a year, every diabetic needs a dilated eye exam with an ophthalmologist, not an optometrist, ophthalmologist, to dilate your eyes. Normally when you go, you see MD. Don't go to American Best. Those are optometrists. You need a dilated eye exam by an ophthalmologist, the MDs. What are they looking for? They are looking for bleeding in the vessels in the back of the eye. which is the #1 cause of blindness, unfortunately, from diabetes, even in the United States.
Okay.
And then also, so ophthalmologist is one of the specialists you should see, the podiatrist, the foot doctor. Most of the time, they don't do much for the patient, but as a diabetic, you should examine your feet every single morning. When you wash your feet, look underneath your feet, because sometimes you can lose the sensation and not even know. I've had diabetics who've gone to the mailbox to pick their mail. They walked barefoot. They had blisters underneath their feet. They never looked at their feet till they had a huge ulcer. And that is how people end up with amputations. So sometimes diabetics feel no pain. And so it's important that you look at your feet, look in between your toes. When you have fungus, you should treat the fungus. When you have dry skin, you should keep it moisturized, because the dryness can lead to cracks. Cracks will lead to infections. Infections will lead to amputations. So you need a podiatrist, you need an ophthalmologist, you need a dentist. Diabetics are prone to dental infections. And so it's important that you see the dentist at least twice a year. Get your cleaning, get a routine dental checkup. And then the nutritionist. I can't overemphasize it. You always need somebody to slap your hand on the back, slap the back of your hand and tell you, hey, get back on track. Because you're human and it's okay to fall off the wagon, but you got to come back on the wagon because it's moving, and diabetes is real. It's there to eliminate. And so it's important to always stay on track. So the nutritionist is also another good one. When you had diabetes for more than 10 years, you should see a cardiologist. See a cardiologist for at least a stress test. And I emphasize stress test, because EKG is not enough. EKG is a moment in time. What is my heart doing now? Stress test will tell you the patency of the blood vessels to the heart, which is what diabetes is going after. So it's important that at least you get a stress test to make sure that you don't have any impending MI, which is impending heart attack. Okay. I'm not sure. Can you hear me? It's almost like, okay. I think we lost Eunice. I guess I should continue about diabetes. And then also, when it comes to diabetes management, I always say that for women, I recommend 45 grams of carbohydrates. It's always open for discussion. And again, go back to learning how to count your carbs. 45 grams of carbohydrate per meal. For men, 60 grams of carbs per meal. If you can, the sun sets and there's darkness. Because of development, we have electricity. God made us to stop eating after 6 p.m. So try to eat early. Dinner should be as early as possible. When we eat late, we pile on the weight, and then we tend to have all these high sugars in the morning. If we're going to snack, it should be less than 15 grams of carbohydrates. And there are so many websites that can teach you carb counting. Every diabetic needs to monitor their blood sugars at least once a day. At least once a day. If you're on insulin, then you should monitor your sugars 4 times a day, which is before meals and at bedtime. You need to take your meter to your primary care physician or your endocrinologist every single visit. That is the most important part of the visit. It's not the A1C, which is giving me an average of your sugar control. So it's important that you take your meter. And if the doctor is not looking at your meter, then you need to find somebody who will look at your meter, because that is the only way you're going to prevent the long-term complications of diabetes.
So Dr. Fynn, when they're looking at the meter, they're looking for the 7-day average and 14-day average, or what exactly are we looking for when they bring the meter? Because I know a lot of providers, they're just in and out, right? We send people and they just never have the time to really look at the meters. I have patients who actually take the time to bring in a 14-day log or a 7-day log, so it's a bit easier for me. But what should they be looking for when they bring in their meter?
Yeah, so basically, you're not looking for averages. You're looking for day-to-day variation in blood sugars.
Okay.
Now we are talking more of time in range. What percentage of the day are you in range? We have the continuous glucose monitors where we are looking at time in range. So we've moved away from averages. A1C. A1C just gives the patient an idea that, oh, you're doing well. But the day-to-day variation in blood sugar determines the complications of diabetes. Because remember, you can have a blood sugar of 30 in the morning and 230 in the evening, and your average is going to be 130. And somebody will have 30 in the morning, 130 in the morning, 130 in the evening. Their average is also 130. Who is going to develop the complications? The one with the excursions in blood sugar. They go up and they go down. So you need to look at the individual numbers. So you as a patient, what can you do? Write it down. Get a glucose log. Write it down for the physician who is so busy they don't have time to download. We download through CareLink. There's so many links that you can use to upload most of the meters. But write it down for the physician. AM, lunch, dinner, bedtime. If you give any physician a glucose log, they'll look at it. And when they look at it and they see the excursions, they'll do something about it. But if you don't bring your meter to the visit and you just say, oh, my A1C is good, and yeah, you didn't benefit from the visit. You think you're doing well, but you're really not doing well in terms of diabetes control. So write it down and give it to the clinician. Most endocrinologists, though, will look at the individual numbers.
That's interesting, because I've always seen people just really focus on the A1C when they do the blood work, like maybe every 3 to 4 months, and they see someone's A1C is going down. That's what determines even medication modification. So it's really interesting that you're saying that we should be looking at the individual numbers per day and seeing when. So you want to see maybe if the person's always high at lunchtime, and then maybe you figure out what they're eating at lunch versus higher at dinner, and so forth and so on.
Correct. So you want to see the trends. So it's not just it's not that, oh, they were high today. Why was it high today? No. Lunchtime, what's happening at lunch? Dinner time, what's happening at dinner? Bedtime. So I also said that those who are on oral medications should check once or twice a day. So then how are they going to be able to see these trends? So you should alternate the times. So you check for breakfast, the next day you check before lunch, the next day before dinner, the next day at bedtime. If you keep doing that over a 3-month period, we'll be able to see trends. We'll have a lot of lunch readings, a lot of breakfast readings, and you'll be able to tell whether you should make adjustments to the patient's breakfast or maybe the medication they are taking in the morning to get the blood sugars down.
So Dr. Fynn, how do we get insurance companies to pay for the strips? Because one of the biggest issues that I have is them paying for diabetes supplies. And they basically hound me and want to know how many times my patient is maybe checking the blood sugar. And what you mentioned is very important. Someone on even metformin can be checking twice a day, but a lot of insurance companies will not give them enough strips to be checking unless they are on insulin. So what can we do about that?
So the insurance companies, if you're on oral medications, they follow the Medicare guidelines. They'll pay for 50 strips a month. 50 strips a month means you can check twice a day, 20 of the days, and once a day, 10 of the days. So these patients can check their sugars and they can alternate the times. And then when they're on insulin, Medicare says 3 to 4 times a day. When they're on the pump, they may pay for 4 times a day. If your patient has commercial insurance, put them on the continuous glucose sensors. We have Freestyle Libre, we have Dexcom sensor, we have Guardian Connect. Put them on these products. Use technology to control diabetes. That way you will never have end organ damage. You will never have the heart attacks. They don't have to. My cardiology friends always say, stop it, you make us broke, because they see the end organ. So they want those cases. But come on, we have to do something about it. Yeah.
Absolutely. We've been having a very great conversation with Dr. Fynn. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to hear from Ray, who's going to be telling us about the updates on the vaccination. I'm sure everyone has panicked a little bit when we saw that Johnson & Johnson was pulled off the market for a little bit. However, Dr. Ofori is going to go into detail with us and also give us a short update from Ghana. Stay with us and we'll be right back. Thank you.
Are you sick or have a health emergency and don't want to wait in long queues at a hospital, especially during these times of COVID-19? Worry no more. Dr. Now GH will bring the hospital to you. Now at your fingertips, you can see a doctor of your choice. Simply download the Dr. Now GH app from your phone's app store. Don't wait. Hurry now to sign up for free. Dr. Now GH, your doctor is now at your fingertips.
Welcome to sankofaonline.com. Your number one diaspora news portal has joined with GhanaWeb.com to bring to you the latest news around the world, especially Ghana. Visit our website at www.sankofaonline.com, or you can download our app from the Google Play Store or App Store. Sankofa Online, serving the Ghanaian Chicago community.
This is the Ghana Agenda, and my name is Alfred Amuzu. On the Ghana Agenda, we talk about political and financial related topics occurring in Ghana. We try to break down some of the most complicated issues, and we make sure that all our listeners leave the show with something at the end of it. Again, tell your friend to tell a friend. Alfred Amuzu is on every Sunday on the Ghana Agenda.
My name is Eunice Cromwell, and I'm the business manager of the Ghana National Council. Make sure you always watch Trend Africa TV.
Welcome to Africa.
Thank you for joining us this evening. Next, we'll be speaking to Dr. Afori, who is an assistant professor of pharmaceutical sciences at Chicago State University. He's a pharmacist by training. His research focuses on drug discovery and neuropsychiatric disorders, including schizophrenia, depression, and substance abuse. Dr. Afori, you're most welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me, Eunice.
More than welcome. Go ahead and give us an update on what you know about the vaccinations, especially what happened with the Johnson & Johnson. We saw that there were some blood clots, and a lot of people, quite frankly, are very nervous because people really wanted to get the one shot and be done with it. So what do you have to say about all of that?
Yeah, so we've all been waiting for the vaccines to come, right? All we used to talk about was the numbers and how many cases we were having. But now we do have some sort of solution to the problem, which is vaccines and most importantly, vaccination. We've distributed a lot of vaccines, but then still haven't had 100% vaccination at this point. But what is very troubling a little bit at this point is the fact that we have to pause on the Johnson & Johnson vaccine because of certain incidents of blood clots. And it's very rare, to be specific. It's only 1 in a million cases that has been identified so far. So the reason for the pause is that every time you have something like this, you have to go back, and the committee that oversees vaccinations will have to analyze the data to see if it is actually caused by the vaccine itself. And also looking at the baseline blood clots we have in the United States, is the vaccine contributing significantly to these cases? So at this point, there's going to be about a week to 10 days pause in the rollout for Johnson & Johnson until this data comes out. And I'm very confident if the data shows that it's not directly related to the vaccine, is going to be put back on the market and people are going to benefit from it. Now, let me add this. The reason why I'm a little bit concerned when it comes to AstraZeneca and J&J is because the rest of the world depend on these vaccines. And therefore, when something happens to any of these tools that we have, it becomes a little concerning.
Right. That's very, very true. So are you saying that the Johnson & Johnson and the AstraZeneca, which is actually in our own Ghana, are they compatible? Are they almost like the same thing? Should people in Ghana be concerned? And have they also taken that vaccination off the market for a little bit as well?
So the vaccines that we have in Ghana at this point is the one from Indian company, which is Covishield. But then it's produced under AstraZeneca's authorization. At this point, it hasn't been pulled off. The Food and Drugs Agency didn't have any evidence to suggest that it should be pulled out of from the market, even though places like Denmark have reported cases of blood clot with AstraZeneca vaccines as well. The numbers are very rare compared to millions of people that have received the vaccine. And therefore, the data is not compelling enough to stop the vaccine because the benefit highly outweighs the risk of contracting the virus itself. So at this point, Ghana is still rolling out with their vaccination from AstraZeneca and Sputnik 5, which is from Russia as well.
Okay.
But I should add that both of them are the same platform of vaccines. They all are vector vaccines as well.
Okay. And a lot of people have been vaccinated. I mean, I think last time you joined our show, you told us how many people have been vaccinated. But what I've seen is that, according to the news, they said that coronavirus cases were going up. I feel like people who get vaccinated want to just hurry up and take off their masks. And so, Dr. Ford, can you let our viewers know that you kind of still need to wear your mask until, you know?
Yeah, we're all tired of wearing a mask. I know, I understand. And everybody's ready to go back to normalcy, but then the virus doesn't understand none of this. And because of that, we're having a lot of cases. But the good news is that the fatality or the death rate is kind of dropped down drastically. I just checked the numbers, and it looks like US today we didn't even get to 1,000, which is one death is bad enough. Nobody want to die from coronavirus, but then the numbers have drastically dropped down. Part of the reason is we've kind of beefed up how we know how to deal with the disease itself, and also we're getting a lot of people vaccinated. Millions of people, hundreds of millions of people have gotten their first shot. Over almost 30% of United States people who are 16 years or older have received at least the double dose for Pfizer or Moderna. So these are all things that are, going in our favor. To make the evidence even stronger, if you compare what is happening in Israel, where you have 85% of the population immunized, today they only recorded 2 deaths, right? Compared to years before months before when they were recording hundreds of people dying every day. So it's evidently clear that vaccination is their way out of this. And therefore people are, we need to advocate and encourage people, admonish people to go in and get this vaccine.
Absolutely. So would you say that, I know I'm reading some of the feed, and some people are saying they don't want to get the vaccine. I know there's been lots of debate about vaccines, but as someone who is a pharmacist and really understands what vaccines are and what vaccines do, I told a patient today, she said, I'm so scared of the vaccine. I said, well, we've been taking vaccines forever, and we've never really known what's inside of any of them, right? When you're a child, I believe before you even leave the hospital, don't they give you like Hep B before you even leave? So it's like, we've all been getting a lot of vaccinations. So what can we tell people, especially our community here in Chicago, right? We want to be able to have Ghana Fest. We want to be able to get out and get to as normal as possible. So what can we tell the people in Chicago about the vaccine and encourage them to get their vaccinations?
All right. So what I understand the hesitancy with vaccines, because number one is because you're giving vaccines to people who are healthy, people who are not sick. That is number one. And the question always comes to you is, why am I taking it when I'm not sick, right? You're actually taking it so that you can prevent the sickness, or when you do get a virus, you don't have a severe outcome from it. So and it's true, we've had vaccines over the years. People have been vaccinated. Even the flu vaccine, right? We take that every year. The flu vaccine is even less. The highest you could get was almost 60%. Most of the time is within 40% efficacy, which means if you pick 100 people, only 40 people will be protected. But however, those who take it tend to do better in terms of symptom outcomes when they do take the vaccine itself. So vaccines have been protecting us for a long period of time. And looking at this, the magnitude of this COVID-19 pandemic, our way out is actually be able to use vaccines to kind of prep our immune system to fight the infection. It is better to get the protection from the vaccine than to get it from the virus itself, because we know the virus kills. So far, the vaccine, we don't have any evidence that shows that it actually kills. We know that it actually protects people from contracting severe form of the disease. And again, I will encourage anybody who is watching us, if you get opportunity, do it. I know we're going to continue a conversation about how to get it, but if you have the chance to do it, don't hesitate. Anyone who's 16 or older, especially in Illinois, you can always schedule to get your vaccine at this point.
Absolutely. And there's a great website that I believe he was 14-year-old that he developed, and it really navigates you through the system. He said he noticed that his grandparents were having a hard time getting the vaccine. So it's a wonderful app, ilvaccinations.org. And he always updates it very regularly, so you'll be able to see where to get your vaccine. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to circle back and talk a little bit with Auntie Florence regarding autism. And then we're going to go back and speak to Dr. Fynn about how diabetes can also affect COVID-19. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Thank you.
Let's join the witty and blunt Empress Mausi on the Mausi Talk Show as she sits with legends, trailblazers, social media celebrities, musicians, and many, many more this and every Friday at 11 a.m. Central Time on Trend Africa TV. It is going to be fun-packed. You don't want to miss this. Trend Africa TV, redefining Africa.
My name is Eunice Cromwell, and I'm the business manager of the Ghana National Council. Make sure you always watch Trend Africa TV.
Welcome to Africa.
Thank you for joining us back. Earlier we were speaking to Mrs. Florence Somuah, and she was explaining to us about her organization, Enox. I'd like to circle back in. Mrs. Florence, if you can tell our viewers, how do we find this organization? Are you on Facebook, Instagram? Do you have a website, a phone number? How do people contact you?
Okay, Enox Word is at Facebook and Instagram is just Enox Word. And
Okay.
yeah, my phone number is everything is there. Yeah,
everything's there.
And Instagram, yeah.
Okay, and I saw on Facebook you were doing something with the police department. Can you tell us what you were doing? That was exciting.
You know, as what's going on nowadays, as a mother, I have this fear on me. And like, if you listen to what I was asking the police officer, since like 2 months ago, I felt like, no, what about if, last time I'm like, go outside and walk because, you can't stay inside all the time. Then I'll be standing there watching him. So let's on Walmart, and you can find me, and you see how they be pacing back and forth, or he's walking by himself or standing there. And they called, a police, or they called somebody, say, there's a black male standing out here and he looks suspicious or a threat or a criminal, all those crazy stuff. And when they come, how are they going to know that, no, it's not a threat to the, people, or he has this special needs, or he is this? So that was my very worry, my fear. That's why I contacted the Romaville department so that they can explain to us that how are they going to know that a child that have, or any child that is in the spectrum, how would they know? So they explained to me that they've been trained and sometimes they know not to touch them. But what is going on, we all saw what is going on in Memphis, in Alabama and everything. So I need to know, like, if my child is walking outside or if my child is lost, how are you going to know? Because he won't wear a bracelet. He won't wear this thing, a necklace. So how do you know that he has, he's on a spectrum? So he was saying, sometimes they look out for them. But how about if you are standing in his back? Because now it seems like you shoot them before you know that there's something wrong with them. So that was my biggest fear. And I'm still going on and talk to them because I need to know. And I bet every parent too need to know, because now all of us, we get scared, even going outside, because we don't know what's going to happen. And number one, if you don't call him by his name, he won't turn around and look at you because you are not calling him. So if you say, hey, boy, hey, you, stop, and he's still going to go or keep standing there because you are not calling him. So how would you know? My question is that how do you know that this boy here, has ability that he needs help? That's why he's walking around. That was the reason why I direct myself to the police department on his birthday to do that awareness.
That is so amazing. And, we are living in such scary times where, unfortunately, Black and brown children are just always categorized differently. I have a 19-year-old and he's very tall and very big. And I'm always thinking the same thing. Like, how will someone know that he is just a church boy that plays the drums and not someone who, is trying to cause trouble, because they're looking at you and just assuming. So that is very, very important. And, thank you, Auntie Florence, for really asking the police that. And they need to find some money within the city to be able to fix that, because there are a lot of children who have different things going on with them. And you cannot just assume that every child who is walking around ignoring you is ignoring you because they're rebellious, versus having some type of condition. So that is very, very important. So you said you're on Facebook and Instagram, and people can visit your page. And you said you don't have a donation page, but I still want people to donate, because all these things need money to be able to run, right?
Yeah.
That's the way I see it. So how can people donate to your cause? Even the fact that you rounding up the police station, I saw you guys with your signs outside, all those things cost money. And I want for people to be able to really sow a seed into what you're doing, because it's very important. So how can we help you?
Well, like I'm saying, I'm getting there. I'm trying to see, like I say, I need a team that will understand, so we can come together as one voice, so we can help these children. It doesn't matter even though if the child is not autistic, because our children needs, as we parents, to stand by them, so we can fight the community, so everybody that is surrounded can understand them. So we get in there gradually. But for donation, if you give me donation, I don't even know who I'm going to give it to. Well, Enoch, every year I had to buy 4 laptops. I stopped buying chairs in my house, because when you get upset, that's one thing about autistic children. When they get upset, they have this strongness, and I don't know if the doctors can help. I can't figure out, even the doctor can't tell the reason why. I think they get this fear that you're going to do something to them. So they have this strongness on them, and if you don't watch out, your chair will break, your TV will break, your door, everything. So I still have used chairs on my house. It became a time we had to sit on the floor because I stopped buying stuff. Yeah. So we'll be buying like tablets, laptops, and everything. And by now, when and it's one of the child. If you see him, you're going to recognize him. He's always have his tablet on his hand. That's his handbag. He love wearing, holding that. So those are things that he like. Yeah. So somebody can donate a tablet for him.
Thank you. And you've all heard what Auntie Florence said. So anyone who is watching and is as touched as we all are by Enoch's World, please feel free to donate. You can send your donations through Trend Africa TV, and we'll make sure that she gets it so we can support her cause and also all the things that she's doing to support the community. So thank you, Auntie Florence.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dr. Fynn, we want to talk a little bit about what diabetes does in terms of COVID-19. So, when we were talking about COVID-19 earlier, we once had a cardiologist on maybe about a month or two ago, and he really went in great detail of all the cardiac effects that COVID-19 has. We know that, as you explained to us, that diabetes is a comorbidity, right? It goes hand in hand with hypertension. We hear about it all the time with Dr. Fauci and everyone. But tell us, as someone who treats diabetes, what does diabetes do in terms of people who have COVID-19?
So the patient with diabetic is no more prone to COVID-19 infection than the average person. That is to say, if I have 10 diabetics in a room and 10 non-diabetics in a room, and one COVID patient walks into the room and sneezes into the air, nobody has a mask, they can all get infected. So infectivity is the same. The fact that you have diabetes does not mean that you are more prone to getting infection. But remember that diabetics are more prone to the regular infections, bacterial infections, especially when they are uncontrolled. But when it comes to COVID-19, you still have to maintain the social distancing, the wearing the mask, washing your hands. Then the next question becomes, when the diabetic gets infected, what is the outcome going to be? We've had patients who are obese with diabetes walk away with just sniffles. We've had skinny patients with no comorbidities, or what we call the healthy metabolic patients. That is the obese patients who have no comorbidities die from COVID. So all the studies show that obesity and diabetes were the two main risk factors that really predispose to a bad outcome. But we know that COVID can be asymptomatic, mild, moderate, or severe. And that really depends on your immune system. That really depends on your ability to fight the disease. So somebody's immune response to the virus may be just sniffles or loss of sense of smell, and that's it. And they could be diabetic and obese. That said, should you develop the severe disease, because remember that COVID is really a respiratory disease where it causes severe inflammation. And diabetes is pro-inflammatory. Obesity is pro-inflammatory. They are all releasing the free radicals that lead to early cell death. COVID does the same. So then now, if you're obese, you're diabetic, and you have COVID, you just have three diseases that are all going to release these pro-inflammatory hormones, leading to cell death. So there's inflammation in the heart, which will cause the myocarditis that we see. Inflammation in the lungs, which is leading to the ARDS, which is what makes most patients end up on the ventilator. So uncontrolled diabetes will make it even worse, because when you have uncontrolled diabetes, you're not able to mobilize your white cell count to the site of infection, which will build the immunity. So what can you do in this COVID age as a diabetic? First, do not get the disease. Get the vaccine. There's this whole drama about the vaccine is going to kill you. It's going to change your DNA. The disease is going to kill you. What are you talking about? We are all not big fans of vaccination. But look at the disease we are dealing with. You'll be lucky if you get it and you survive it. But what if you die from it? Marathon runners have died from it with no comorbidities. So you don't know what will happen. I got the vaccine. I had nothing when I got the vaccine. My husband, who is healthier than me, got the vaccine, and he wasn't feeling too well for 24 hours after the vaccine. But after 24 hours, it goes away. So I think that you should arm yourself with what you have than to arm yourself with nothing except hope. Obviously, we all pray, but please arm yourself with the vaccine. Get the vaccine. This is not the time for theories about vaccination. If we go, this is not a medical group for us to go into in-depth about what the vaccine entails. But the two, the Moderna and Pfizer, are messenger RNAs. They are not going to touch your DNA. They don't touch your DNA. And the effect of a virus, it will manifest within a short period, 24 hours after administration. So this thing about 10 complications. What about the vaccine, the virus? There are long-term complications of the virus. We have patients who had COVID in August who are still struggling today. I mean, what if you are that patient? You would wish you had taken the vaccine to protect you from these long-term complications. So for the diabetic patients, I would just say, don't get the virus, get vaccinated. It is safe. This is not the time to be. This is not 11 p.m. Time to take charge. Put in all the measures to control your diabetes. Make sure your fasting glucose is less than 140, or ideally less than 120 if you ask me. Keep your pre-meal blood sugars under 160 to 180. The lower, the better off you are. This is the time to see the eye doctor. This is the time to exercise more. This is the time to try and get your weight down, because remember that obesity is also a pro-inflammatory state. Obesity prevents you from expanding your lungs, and this disease is a disease of the lung. So if somebody is obese, they already have compromised airways. When they sleep, they can't expand their lungs properly. They may end up with obstructive sleep apnea. So these patients are just walking with respiratory illnesses that they are not aware of. And then the disease comes and just exacerbates everything. So all you can do as a diabetic in these times is to just control the sugars, pretty much.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Dr. Fynn. It's 8:09 and we're going to be wrapping up. I'd like to first just really thank our viewers for all your patience. Sorry, we had a little bit of technical difficulties. And also, we've been away for a couple of weeks. We've been working on some other exciting things, but we are back and we'll be bringing you lots of exciting topics. So at this time, I just want to go around and allow everyone to give their closing remarks. We'll start with Auntie Florence since we began with her from Enoch's World. Do you have anything to tell our viewers to close today?
Listen to me out there. I know, like, if you have a child like Enoch, it's not easy, it's very tough, but all that I want other parents to know is like accept them and understand them and support them. So we should come together and be one. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. And thank you for honoring our invitation and coming on Trends Africa TV. We really appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. And Dr. Ofori?
Well, my words are the same. We should try and protect ourselves. I think that we have it in our own hands. Wear your mask, social distance, even if you're vaccinated, and make sure that if you do have the opportunity to get vaccinated, please do. Don't think about it twice.
Thank you very much for once again always joining our professional panel. There were a lot of comments on there. I'm sorry I couldn't get to everything. I'm having a lot of connection issues. However, I will go back and I will look at all your questions and I will send it to whoever can answer, and we will answer them accordingly. So thank you for everyone who chimes in on our chat tonight. Dr. Fynn, anything for our viewers to leave off with?
So for COVID-19, in this era of COVID-19, I would say to everybody, wear your mask, get vaccinated, because if you get very sick from COVID in December, it's really your choice. And take your vitamin D, 1,000 units daily. More is better. There are 5,000 units vitamin D supplements. Take vitamin C, and just pretty much social distance. Don't go to any parties. Just stay healthy. And thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation. We know that you are very busy. You were in clinic today, but you still found time to come and teach our audience. So we really appreciate it. Everybody, we are grateful once again for another successful episode of Health Talks. We pray that everybody will keep safe and keep healthy. Thank you once again for joining us, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a wonderful evening.
The Post-G Mix class is something the industry needs, because I have been part of so many conversations where the argument has been that songs coming from outside Ghana, let me not even go far, especially our Nigerian counterparts. So many people feel that their songs are well produced, well mixed and mastered than the songs we produce here in Ghana. I've had countless conversations with Post-G himself. So when I heard that he's doing the Post-G Mix class, I said, okay, every producer needs this. So growing up, I was told that knowledge is wealth. So whatever you do, seek knowledge. My name is Sammy Flex. I work with Xylophone FM 102.1, and also I operate an online channel, Sammy Flex TV. I endorse Post-G's Mix class. Everyone should be part of this.
The creator.
Maka maka. Royal Black says the Abba. Maka maka. Entertainment and sports. Maka maka. I say politics. Maka maka. Royal Black says. Assembly Safwa. Bie assembly puno. Sane pia de kami. Ekome ya kotokumi. Ekome ya misegbe. You want love fake hanye maka maka. Royal Black says the Abba. Maka maka. All the trending issues. Maka maka. I say politics. Maka maka. Entertainment and sports. Maka maka. RBJ the Abba. Where you full from cry. Asemi safwa. Yeah, asemi puno. Sasemno ba yedie yebeka senye yebetino sabepepe na yebeka no maka maka akesane kwedewo wabaye no ni wona je no na ke What by you no ni wanna je no na ke. Say your politics RBJ Becca or Becca. A sports RBJ Becca or Becca. Entertainment to RBJ Becca or Becca. Trending issues RBJ Becca or Becca. Maka yediabao yebeka. Maka yediabao yebeka. Royal Black says yabao yebeka. Royal Black says yabao yebeka. Assembly safwa bie assembly puno sane pia de kami ekome ya kotokumi ekome ya misegbe ni won love fake hanye maka. Royal Black says yabao maka. All the trending issues maka. I say politics maka. Entertainment and sports maka. Royal Black says diaba maka. Entertainment and sports maka. I say politics maka. Royal Black says maka. Royal Black says diaba maka. Entertainment and sports maka. I say politics maka. Royal Black says maka. Royal Black says diaba maka. Entertainment and sports maka. I say politics maka. Royal Black says maka. Royal Black says diaba maka. Entertainment and sports maka. I say politics maka. Royal Black says
Hello there. Welcome to Trend Africa, where we give you the best of live streaming across all states in the US. We also do web designing, event planning, emceeing, app creating, and promotions. Or if you want to shoot an advert for your business or a show, you can contact us on +1773 312 0318. For more information, you can visit our website at www.trendafricaonline.net and also on our social media platforms at Trend Africa TV. You can download our app Trend Africa Online on the Google Play Store and App Store. Trend Africa, redefining Africa.